Well, today at the official conference was Economics Day. John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor and close ally of Jeremy Corbyn, took to the stage, fleshing out his plans, and he's with me now. Very good evening to you. So you said that it's a government in waiting, policies on the shelf, you have to get down into detailed implementation for those policies. Can we start with tax? Okay. Tax is currently about 37% of national income. Roughly, where would you like to see that end up after, say, 5 years of Labour government?
Well, it's one of the reviews we're now undertaking, which is a review of the tax base, looking to see, first of all, the requirements of the tax that we have, but also the range of taxation that we want to explore. So that's the first stage of our work on that that's taking place now. We've just done a review that we commissioned last year of HMRC, which was looking at tax evasion, tax avoidance, so we've done a lot of work on that. We reviewed HMRC as an organisation itself about how it should be managed in the future, staffed and resourced. So it's one of the ongoing pieces of work that we're doing.
Right, but that doesn't sound like a government in waiting. I mean, you must be able to give me, I'm not asking you to give me to the nearest 0.1% or even the nearest 1%, but to the nearest 5%.
As we move towards the general election, you'll know more about our tax policies.
There could be an election next year.
It could be, and that's why I was saying today there is a sense of urgency on this, and that's why we'll be urgent.
But you can't tell me now, you've been Shadow Chancellor for a year, you can't tell me now, within 5% of national income, where you think the tax burden should be.
What we're saying at the moment is roughly the tax burden should remain where it is, but there may be...
Roughly the same as it is?
Wait, let me finish. But we don't want to preempt the reviews that we're doing. What we've said on tax so far is, first of all, we're not talking about increasing income tax on middle or low earners or anything like that. We want to ensure that the corporations themselves start paying their way. We want to reverse some of the benefits that have been given to the rich in our society, and we want to tackle tax evasion, tax avoidance. And we want to invest in our economy, and as we grow that, we can grow our tax base.
But the most interesting thing you've just said to me is none of those lists you just gave me. It's the point that you don't see the tax burden changing very much from where it is.
We will look at the tax base overall, and then we'll come to conclusions before the general election, and that could
But you must have some idea. John McDonnell, you've been in politics for many years. You've been Shadow Chancellor for a year. Do you want to see us like Sweden, like France, like the United States, like Hong Kong?
I want to ensure that our taxation is fair. I will make sure that it falls on those best able to pay, and the corporations pay their way.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that, so we needn't detain ourselves.
We're not talking about dramatic increases in overall taxation, but at the same time, we want to ensure that the work we do, because I promised the Labour Party conference last year and this, that every financial instrument we use will be tested rigorously.
Right. Thank you. Wealth tax. You've raised the idea in your speech today. We can't be taxing labour, can't be taxing salaries and wages. We need to tax more on wealth. I'm not going to expect you to tell me the detail of your wealth tax plan now.
That's because we've launched the review today.
But give me some rough idea of what a wealth tax is going to look like. Is this on housing? A mansion tax? Because that was raising about $1 billion.
I'll be frank with you, I didn't think the mansion tax was going to be particularly successful. However, in the review that we've launched today, we'll go out there, listen to people's ideas, and come back fairly quickly on that about the proposals that we've had.
So you have said you're going to move to a wealth tax, and you have at this point, no idea how you will do that, other than that you don't think the mansion tax...
When we're looking at the issue of wealth and how it should be taxed, and we're looking at that in a way in which we'll engage with the wider community, and we'll come back with our proposals. But the whole point of this exercise, launched today, is to ensure that, again, whatever measure we use is rigorously tested.
I thought you were a government in waiting. I mean, it sounds like you're a government in waiting for 2025.
The whole point of today's exercise was to say we need to be ready to a general election. We need to get those policies on the shelf and implementation plans ready.
Okay,
and in a number of areas like this, that's exactly the work we've launched.
I'm not actually expecting you to talk about the detail, but I did think we might get the parameters. Let's take another area, immigration. If Labour comes to power, would policies be adopted that would have the objective of trying to get the overall level of net migration down?
Well, migration is dependent on what the economy needs largely, and you can only determine that as the economy develops. And what we've been saying, let's take the Brexit issue, and we want to ensure that we have access to the market. that will be associated with free movement of labour, which we've supported up until now. But we accept that free movement of labour has consequences. That includes the potentially undercutting of wages and working conditions and pressure on public services. So we'll address those issues.
Right. So is the answer to the question, will it be your objective to get immigration down? The answer is no, it will not be your objective to get it down.
No,
but it's a very simple question.
The answer is straightforward.
No, but it wasn't straightforward.
Well, it is straightforward. We'll have levels of immigration based upon what the economy can manage.
And do you expect that to be lower than the current levels of 300,000?
We'll see how the economy develops. Right. It's almost unpredictable at this stage because we want to grow the economy, and at different stages in growing that economy there may well be opportunities, therefore, where immigration is important to ensure that economy grows.
Many people are worried about immigration for a reason different to the one that you emphasise. You emphasise they don't like wages being undercut or pushed down by the arrival of competing labour. Many people are not worried about that. They're worried about all sorts of things going on in society, change that they find difficult to digest. They see their community changing. They see language changing. Is that a legitimate objection to immigration?
Look, it's not an objection to immigration. People are fearful of change sometimes, and our job in government and at every level of government is to basically assist people to overcome those fears and to really address that issue of change. And that's what's happened in our society.
But it sounds like you're saying you're not going to let that be taken into account when you think about immigration. It's just an economic question.
Well, I think it's an economic question, but it's also a question about pressure on public services, because some of the concerns about change that we've had on the doorstep, particularly during the Brexit campaign, was about pressure on housing, the health service, etc. And we can deal with that by investing in those public services.
Okay. Let's take a third one, where I'm afraid the policy is as clear as mud to me, but you're going to put me right. Trident. Now, is it your belief that when Labour goes into the next election, its policy will be to renew Trident?
Right. Existing party policy at the moment is to renew Trident. Right. We've had a debate in the House of Commons, which was a free vote, because we believe this was a conscience issue. And as a result of that, the party came to a consideration, and the attitude amongst our members is the same. That will give the right, of course, to MPs and to our members who support Trident to vote accordingly, but at the same time will enable others to campaign against if they so wish.
I genuinely don't understand. Let's suppose we have an election next year or the year after. This is not in the realms of wild fantasy, but it's not the government stated position. Let's suppose we have an election. If I vote Labour, am I voting for Trident, or am I voting against Trident, or am I voting for Don't Know?
Right. In the period up until now and the general election, we'll form our manifesto. There'll be people like me who'll be arguing that we scrap Trident. There'll be others that will be arguing to keep it. At the moment, the majoritarian position is to keep it. But at the same time, when we go into Parliament, this is a conscience issue for members, so there'll be a free vote.
Yeah. But Clive Lewis, who is your Defence Secretary, has said it's time the party stopped picking at the scab of Trident policy. He's also clarified in The Guardian today, I won't be coming back to conference between now and the next election to try and undo the policy we have on Trident as things stand. So Clive Lewis, Defence Secretary, is saying, I'm not coming back to look at this policy again. Yeah. Is your view that it is open to be discussed again?
Look, it's always open to the democratic process of the Labour Party for any individual member or group of members to raise an issue. That's called democracy.
And what is Clive... So is Clive Lewis just speaking for himself, or what is the point of Clive Lewis saying I'm not coming back?
His view is that the matter has been decided for the time being, but it's always open. It's always open for our party members to raise these issues, and I'm sure that's what will happen on a range of views.
I'm sorry, I'm genuinely not sure. So the Defence Secretary is confused, you're the Shadow Defence Secretary, is confused about what the policy is going to be on Trident.
No, he's stating what the position is at the moment.
And he says, I'm not going to come back and change it before the next election.
No, he's not coming back.
But someone else might come back.
But it's open. We're a democratic party. It's open. When you join the Labour Party, you're told you have the right to have a view on these policies and to change those policies. So anyone in the party can campaign upon this issue and put it back on the agenda. That's democracy.
Emily Thornberry, who's your Foreign Affairs spokesman, says there's a review, an ongoing review. Is that your understanding? There's an ongoing review of Trident?
There's been an ongoing review for some time because we want to take people's views into account. But
the Defence
already,
Secretary, your defence guy must be talking nonsense
Not
then
at
if he
all,
says it's
not
not
at
coming
all.
back. Does he not know there's an ongoing review when he says it's fixed for the next thing?
His view is he can't see it coming back. It's as simple as that. However, it's open to others in that review to say, actually, we do want it discussed again.
And this is a government in waiting. This is the bit I'm puzzled.
it
This
will
is a
be.
government.
It will
Well,
be.
I thought you said you
It will
are a
be.
government.
It
Which means
will
you're
be.
not a government in
Well,
waiting now.
The message I put to people this morning is that we need to become a government in waiting. That means developing these policies, putting them on the shelf, having implementation plans with them, and that's our work in the coming months.
I mean, the Trident one though makes a real point because it really doesn't sound like you know what the policy is or what it is going to be.
Well,
you know what it is.
No, it's a natural acceptance. There are different
Right.
views within this political party.
Is it conceivable that you will have a policy going into the next election on Trident which the leader of your party will not publicly support?
Well, Jeremy's position is straightforward, that he does not support the renewal of Trident. But if there's a majority position within the party, that will be party policy.
And when we go into the election, if the policy is to support Trident's renewal, should we believe the policy or should we follow the belief of the leader?
The reality is, whatever happens about the Trident policy development, there will be a free vote in Parliament because it's a conscience issue for us.
So we won't know when we vote Labour what the outcome of that free vote is going to be.
Well, I think that will happen most probably across a number of parties as well.
So
I think on this issue, it's so significant in people's minds, it's become a conscience issue right the way across the House.
Okay, so we won't know. Just one very quick one. We're going to keep you there and talk about party matters, but quick one. 2% of national income devoted to defence, the NATO target. Clive Lewis again said, absolutely, we're going to stick by that. That is going to be the Labour policy, and that's you're happy with that as Shadow Chancellor?
Actually, Labour governments consistently have
they
spent
will.
above that level.